Good evening. This is Caitlin Glimmy, and this would be my demonstrated learning assessment number 3. I thought I had done this assignment incorrectly because nobody commented on my discussion post, and then I also noticed that nobody else had talked about math until I saw this evening that there's another math lesson there. So I'm going to keep going with it because I really liked this week's lesson because it made you get one-on-one with a student and really delve into their issues and how to approach it. And I felt like it humanized the process. And it's really what I do every day with my students because I have so few. In my math courses, I have 2 students, then I have a single student, and then I have 2 students. So I'm able to do a lot of one-on-one and individualized work. What I'm going to show you is my usual way of teaching one-step equations, at least the slides that go with it, and I'll walk you through what we would do. So this first slide is how I remind them or reintroduce the concept of an equation, how they are always balanced. Everything we do on one side we have to do on the other because we can't imbalance the equation. And our ultimate goal is to get the variable by itself. Leading into this lesson, we've already talked about what variables are. I have a variable board game that they play where they roll a dice and that number gets plugged into the variable and then they move based on the result of the problem. So they've already practiced variables, they've practiced plugging numbers in for variables, they understand that the letter is holding the place for a number we don't know. So at this point, we'll talk about PEMDAS and remind them again why multiplication and division are equal. Multiplication does not come before division. And how addition and subtraction are equal. Addition does not come before subtraction. You always go left to right. And we'll talk about how they're pairs and they pair up. So the opposite of multiplication is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. Opposite of addition is subtraction. Opposite of subtraction is addition. Then we go through a couple practice problems. And the idea of these problems is that they get a little harder each time. They recognize, 6x equals 30. They would recognize x plus 7 equals 37. They would understand those separately. So what we'll address is when you're doing multiple step equations, we have to do PEMDAS, but we actually start at the bottom. For what we're eliminating, we get rid of addition or subtraction first. So as a class, we'd walk through this problem. And again, when I say class, I mean 2 or 3 kids. And I have them tell me what to do next. What do I do next? Which number, 6 or 7? And I try to give them a 50-50 choice because even if they aren't sure, they're willing to guess. It's almost like a true-false question. They're willing to guess on a true-false question. So I'll ask them, what do we get rid of first, 6 or 7? And we'll come to the conclusion it has to be 7. Okay, so this is plus 7. What's the opposite of plus? And they'll tell me usually minus. And so then we'll subtract 7 from the left and the right, reminding them of the scales. And then we'll do it again for the 6. This is 6 times x. What's the opposite of times? And they'll tell me. And so they walk me through it. Depending on the students, I've had some who are the ones who come to the board, and the other students tell them what to do. And that tends to come further along once we've been doing this for a bit or if it's a review. But if they want to come to the board, I have students who just like using the dry erase markers. So I let them come up and I will sit with the students and help walk them through, and they just get to write, and they enjoy that part. And it's a way of getting them involved in math when otherwise they may not. So the next example just involves having x's on both sides. What do you do when you have the same variable but one on both sides? And we'll walk through how to break that down. We generally get rid of the smaller x. Well, what's smaller? And then we add in the final difficulty of having a parenthesis, because the general rule is you start at the bottom of PEMDAS, addition, subtraction, work your way up. But when you add a parenthesis in there, we have to distribute that first. So, and these problems are a little dated. They're from a GED assignment. They don't pair up exactly with the math assignment that I gave them, but they're the same difficulty level. So they're still applicable, and since they're an in-class examples, I don't necessarily want to use their homework for an in-class example. And a final reminder, we talked about particularly with this student, was dealing with negatives and positives. And so when we're doing their assignment in class, because they don't have a study hall and they're incarcerated, so they don't go home at night to do homework, um, I'll leave this on the board while they're working on their assignment as a reminder, because integers and negative numbers are a thing that they still struggle with. And then finally, I know this is hard to see, but this is the actual assignment that they're doing, and the assessment is grading the assignment at the end of the day. Did they actually understand the process? Did they understand the lesson? And did they get the right answers? Again, I apologize, it's hard to see in the middle, but 25 through 33. I really liked these problems because they require the student to identify the mistake. These are problems where somebody did something wrong, and the student's job is to identify what was done incorrectly and then fix it and write down the correct answer. And then the next two word problems are starting to tie into some area perimeter work too, which I really liked. So this assignment pairs up with the high school Algebra 2 curriculum. I am employed by the high school, by the school district, but I'm contracted out to the county to work in juvenile detention. And the students who are in this class are enrolled in a core program for up to a year, and they're enrolled in classes through the high school. So my job is to ensure they're getting the same curriculum information that the high school students are getting. The benefit I have is that I have a few of them, and I have a very, I don't want to say the word captured audience, but I have an audience that I know will be there every day. I have access to them for study hall. If something's going on where another kid needs extra help, I can maneuver my schedule around and make sure that I can get them the help they need. They tend to make up a lot of credits while they're with us. We have summer school in the summer, but that's all credit recovery. We will do some credit recovery courses during the school year as well. So our students are really inundated with a lot of education in the short time that we have them. And sometimes that's the best we can hope, is that we can just flood them with as much information as we can in a reasonable manner, and help them get caught up as best they can. Because most of our students are remedial in some manner. Besides their legal issues, they have personal, family, trauma, educational, IEPs. There's a number of things going on with them. So I found that trying to engage them, giving them a 50-50 option for the next step, letting them participate without the risk of being wrong, are all great ways to get them involved in math class. And I've noticed with two of my gentlemen right now that are in the class together, they have gotten to the point now where they will challenge each other. One of them will answer a question, and then he'll tell the other one, okay, your turn. What do you do? What's your next step? Okay, what do you do now? And they joke around about it, but they're actually doing really well. I know I probably got off topic on this, and my recording's going to be really long, and I don't know if it'll upload tonight, so we'll see how this all goes. Thank you for this class, and thank you for giving us a chance to sit and talk with our students about their educational concerns and create a lesson based on what they needed. I think this worked really well with them, and I can see it still. We just finished the cumulative review, and they remembered all of it. And this is about 2 weeks after we did this lesson. So that's all I got. Have a great night.